I've heard and had some horrific stories on this podcast, and almost everyone that I've spoke to has gotten to a better place.
When you suggest that potentially grief doesn't have to just be a wallowing pit of despair for your entire existence, for it to still be a meaningful death and experience, and people get really mad about that. When you can remove some of that like why did this happen to me part, it kind of helps reframe it a little bit, that we are all living in the soup of life, and the things just happen.
It will get better. And
should you choose?
There's threefold. It won't get better if that's what you believe. It can get better if that's what you believe. It will get better if that's what you believe.
Maybe right now it just is better.
Yeah, what are we doing?
Well, David, I know this is your podcast, but like I said, I think it's really interesting the way people are so mad at you.
People are mad at me.
They get mad at me too. So I felt like I related to you for seeing how people just get totally up in arms when...
Put the mic a little further away.
Further?
I'm kidding. You're really far away.
When you...
Yeah. I'm going to save that one for myself later.
Little treats if you watch the video. When you suggest that potentially grief doesn't have to just be a wallowing pit of despair for your entire existence, for it to still be a meaningful death and experience. And people get really mad about that.
Yeah, and I kind of knew that, but once I put it out on the internet, particularly, that I said it can. And again, I specifically chose my words carefully. Not even carefully, just kind of carefully. I said it can get better. I didn't say it will get better, even though that's how I say it. I said it will get better. But for the sake of malleability for the public, I was like, it can get better. And just the potentiality of positivity in a deep, dark place, people almost get offended.
Yeah. You're taking away, like, it must be associated with pain, because my pain makes it real, valuable, and I'm not forgetting the person. If it's now positive, then it's like a diss to the death, I guess.
So is it really shaking the weight that getting better isn't shunning the person that we lost?
Say that again. You're saying it's getting better doesn't mean that it's shunning the person. Is that
right. So is that the hump that you think is the hump to get by that idea?
I think it's a big one because, I mean, if it's death or not death, we know that people associate so much of their identity to like their painful experiences and their trauma. We know, like look at your job is kind of based around some of your stuff with that, but it's gonna either
stuff?
your stuff, my stuff. I'm a fucking medium, psychic, all this stuff. My story is laden richly with death and trauma, and yours is too. But I think some people have to attach their whole personality having value based on the painful parts, because if it's not painful, then it doesn't have value. And if it doesn't have value, then am I shunning that person's like the loss of that person?
Right. At the same time, there is a balancing effect of just the fact that it is extremely painful by nature, right?
Yeah, totally is painful.
Right. And then it's just, and again, I'm not trying to convince anyone. I like to say and let you throw it in the pond and you decide to fish it out if you want, kind of thing. But I've seen it too many times beyond my own experience. I've heard and had some horrific stories on this podcast, and almost everyone that I've spoke to has gotten to a better place. And it's not that it's not going to be the same. That's just completely different. You're in a completely different dimension. It's a completely new life.
Better doesn't mean same.
Exactly. But I think some people kind of parlay that idea to think that.
Yes, I think so. They want to return to like what was before the loss happened, instead of viewing the loss as potentially an opportunity to, I think we talked about this last time, to like change and grow and like have a new depth of experience.
Yeah. And it's just the idea that people, we have a tough time as humans just readjusting to this life without that person. And part of it, I spoke to a guy yesterday who has been practicing Tibetan Buddhism for 20-something years. And part of that first foundation that he was explaining to me throughout that belief is the acknowledgement and acceptance of death, which sounds cliche for a reason, but it shouldn't be a surprise that we're going to die. Of course, there is the shock value of someone dying very young. And I've talked about it a million times. A child dying is, in my opinion, the worst one. That's the most difficult, challenging, incomprehensible experience that I haven't personally experienced.
Like the one that's not supposed to happen.
Right. And then this isn't just for the sake of believing in positivity, people, by the way. That's the whole nature of the conversation, just so we are aware of that.
You're bypassing.
How dare I?
You're bypassing.
How dare I?
You're bypassing.
But it's the idea, again, that the notion of believing that, and again, if you don't believe that it can get better, then it won't. Simple as that. Simple as that. Literally as simple as that.
Yeah. And so if that's the path you want to choose, cool. Then like sign off on that. sign off on whatever you want to do, whatever thing is that you want to feel, just like sign off on that and be responsible for part of it.
For part of it. Again, and I also bring up the notion that, I think I said it recently. I said, where was it in the manual of life where I said everything's supposed to be fair?
Right.
Where it was this assumption that it's supposed to be all good. It's the assumption that these bad things aren't supposed to happen or should happen. It's just this innate human aspect of almost entitlement in a weird way, that we're entitled, that we're supposed to live a life.
Why wouldn't it be you that's something bad? Like when people are like, why me, why me, why me? I'm like, well, why
wouldn't it be?
Why wouldn't it be? Like, not to like be like if someone deserves something bad, but like why what happened to your dad happened to your dad and you versus why would it happen to me? It's like, well, just that's the way this story went. Those are the tools and the things and the character development moments that I have.
Yeah, and I think that reasons me in particular, and my personal story that happened in such a way, like it happened at 12, so that's one part of the whole equation. Oh, okay, that sucks. I lost my dad at 12. Mm-hmm. That's inherently wild. Okay, and then I'm like, that happens all the time, first of all. Second, it happened in the way that it happened. Mm-hmm. Like, Bin Laden was involved, and I'm like, that's kind of crazy. And then it happened in that fashion, and it made me realize, oh, this just happens. It wouldn't happen to me. This stuff happens. And now that was realization, oh, this absurd manner that it happened can happen to me. And then I look around a little deeper. I'm like, oh, no, these absurd, quote unquote, unfair manners, the way that people die, happen every single day.
To people all over the world all the time. And then worse, even not to say that your dad's passing wasn't worse, but people see things happen. Yeah, it is. I think when you can remove some of that like why did this happen to me part, it kind of helps reframe it a little bit, that we are all living in the soup of life and the things just happen. And that's okay. There's some acceptance in that. And even if it hurts, I think it's important to say, I'm not saying that people experiencing pain around loss is wrong. It is painful. My grief has gotten better, and it is still painful that I lost my dad to suicide. Both of those things are real things.
Yeah, and I think people think that it can. I think I had to clarify in one of my posts, like when things get better, it doesn't mean it's healed. If we even get fully healed, it just means it got better. Like my pain feels a little bit better, but the pain's still there. It's just progression in the direction of one positive way.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think it is, like I personally think things can get really great. I think that has that potentiality if we decide to go in that direction, because it has for me. It doesn't mean I don't miss my dad. It doesn't mean the pain's not there. It doesn't show up in different ways or occasionally pop in like a little button that someone pressed. But it's gotten better for me. I don't know. It's like literally, it's gotten better for me.
What do you think your life would have been had your dad not passed away? What if your dad was still here? Like, what kind of person would you be? What work would you be doing? You wouldn't be doing this.
Definitely not. It'd be weird if I was. Maybe I'd still be back east. Right. But maybe I would have never moved to California. Or maybe I would have, because I've always been a little strange, and maybe I just made those decisions. But then I don't know, but my life would clearly have taken a different path.
Your dad had to die how he died, so that way you would be doing this version of...
Right, and that's the positive. I say it all the time. People ask similar questions, and I say, oh, well, I wouldn't be here talking to you. I would have never met you.
Mm-hmm. All these people that you like positively impact, even if they get all riled up at you for saying it's going to get better, could maybe get better.
Yeah, and it's just, again, it's looking at the positive decision. And I say it all the time. I would choose all these lessons. I would sacrifice this podcast to have my dad back. Not what it is. And from that challenging experience, it birthed something that is helping people in my personal belief.
You just said something that I listened to you say it online, I don't know, like a month ago or something. And it's like sat with me just up until right now, that I think is an interesting, differing, and people are probably going to want to rip my head off for this one.
I might do it.
You can rip my head off. Well, I think what you said is like good and real. And that's like, I was like, I honor your experience and what you just said about your dad and trading it all. And I was speaking with my mom and some friends, because I was like, oh, I have actually thought about this a few times. And I know this sounds strange maybe, but in conversation with Spirit and my dad and this whole thing, I would not trade the experience that happened. And, I know we already talked about it on the other episode, but yeah, dad shooting himself in the head on Halloween 3 years ago almost. Brutal thing. But the change that had to occur in my life and the level of change, and people might say it's like selfish and gross, but I actually don't think so. The way that I like tap in with it is not, suicide wasn't a gift. Like I don't want anyone to hear it as like, oh, when I kill myself, it's a gift to somebody else. But like the level of like, ouch and like heartbreak, and that was such a massive like shift in my life. It is a gift that my dad gave me on the other end of it. Like I want to be very clear. I'm not saying that killing yourself is a gift to anybody. I think you get it. But I would not, I wouldn't trade the experience now.
I can fathom with that. You know, if I really look deeper into me always saying that I would this or that, it's a blend of maybe I'm just saying that loosely just because I know I can't. I'm just kind of saying it. But if I was put in that situation, yeah, I think I would still take my dad. I would still choose that. But at the same time, I'm incredibly grateful for that event, as weird as that sounds, because it changed so much. There's so many good things that came from it. It's wild. So many good things. But those good things took the growth of persevering through pain.
Yeah.
So it's just I think that's just the most natural way of looking at it for me.
Well, I wonder for your case too, because my dad chose to do it and your dad did not. I wonder if it also kind of frames the way that it is. The way that I see it, I was like, oh, dad just like, he opted out. And so maybe my mind is soothing it by saying like, I accept this and I wouldn't change it.
Right, because it was based on a conscious decision to do it. It's like, oh, that was his choice. So by me saying you wouldn't change it, you're kind of also, co-signing his decision.
Right. Like I don't, for me, I've come to the point where fighting with the like, oh, why would my dad do it? I know my dad did it. He didn't want to be here anymore. Flat out. He just said, I had dreams afterwards. Like, yes, even though I'm a medium, it's hard for me to communicate with my own father. Just is a little muddy. Multiple different people that I've talked to, they're like, oh no, your dad just was like later. And that is exactly how he would do it. He was not interested in doing this anymore. And honestly, when you had Joseph on your podcast and he said some things, I was like, yeah, honestly, like my dad was probably similar. Like he just was not interested in the human experience anymore.
Yeah. And you said something earlier about the why aspect, but then the why, like contemplating the why is part of the spiritual aspect where you have to kind of, I think I try to balance both. I have fun contemplating it because it opens up different thoughts for me. And I think I like to do it for sport because it just spawns new ideas.
Yeah.
As opposed to really having to try to find a why, because I partially believe I can find a why because it's just the meaning I give it. And that in itself is the why. So it's a balancing act. I'm not going too deep, but also, contemplating the why is also healing. But I think you have to do it in moderation. At least I do.
I like that. Yeah, I think sometimes I can spiral around and kind of play with it just to see
where it takes me.
Where it takes me is just like a exercise. And then sometimes it's just like, it just is. There is an isness.
There's an isness, mad isness.
There's an isness.
Mad isness to the business. But it's, then it's just fun. It's interesting just to kind of play around with the idea of maybe leading with the word maybe there is a reason for this. Maybe there's not. Either way.
Maybe none of this matters.
Maybe none of this matters.
At all. That's also a possibility.
And if it does matter, it doesn't matter. It's like I've heard before, live as if it does matter.
Yeah.
Because what's the worst that's going to happen? Oh, it turns out it didn't. And then I lived a great life and I was nice to people and I lived with love. Oh, oops. And then if it doesn't, or whatever I just said, I'm mixing up my words. And either way, you chose to live. It does matter, then you still did it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But then part of me is like, I feel guilty. Not humans, unless you're a sociopath, naturally feel guilty towards certain decisions that we make that you may have some shame towards. Then part of me might regret if I find out it was meaningless. Like, oh, damn, I felt shame for nothing. I could have just been a fucking idiot and just blah, 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 blah.
Well, we could throw through some shame now. Why carry shame anyways? I mean, sure, there's like moments of it, right? There's like things where you cause people pain, but like you don't have to like, we can get into that another time.
Yeah, maybe off the mic on the shame aspect. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to grow this podcast here, guys.
I'm not saying that like shame has no place, but it also, I think, I'm just going to say in general, I think shame has, and I'm saying this with an intimate relationship to shame being one of the reasons my dad offed himself, is that shame, I think, has too big of a place in most people's minds. And it's a big controlling factor of a lot of everyone does. A lot of what everyone does.
Yeah, I mean, shame is just tied to other people's point of view.
Yeah.
It's just tied to what other people are going to say or think. And then I think, but also then there's an innate aspect of humanity of being a human and knowing something's wrong. But what is wrong?
Well, then change your behavior. If you're doing shit that is feeling wrong with your moral compass, then switch your shit up, dude.
Yeah, of course. That's right. That's literally what I do. I'm talking.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm just saying the general, that was not at you.
That was definitely at me. What do you? I don't know.
It was the internet, the etheric.
Yeah, speaking of the internet talking shit on me, it's funny. So one person, the specific post that was interesting, and there's plenty of people talking shit about me. It was, I don't even know if this is the one you're talking about, but it was...
I sit on Facebook and I go,
yeah, thanks. The one post, I responded to a comment that said, do you remember what it was like before you were born?
Yeah.
And he said, exactly, he's talking to himself. He goes, exactly, that's what it's like when you die. And I mean, it's so funny because when people look at posts, I think they think that, I put a business plan together. It took me 3 weeks to think about my response. I was in my mom's guest bedroom in Jersey. I saw the comment. I picked up the phone, one take, responded to my thing, and just put it out there because I thought I was being a stupid joke. And my response was, to the comment, I posted it. I said something along the lines of, dog, I don't even remember what I had for breakfast 2 days ago, and something like that. Something stupid. It wasn't even well thought out. But partially, I still hold on to that because it's still forgetting something in general. So my whole point was, if you forget memories, why are we assuming that we wouldn't forget something that is before existence?
Yeah, I don't see why not.
Thanks.
I don't remember being 2. Like you said, I don't remember breakfast.
Then people are like, yeah, but there's photos of you, so proof. That's not the point. The point is the idea of forgetfulness in general. We forget things in this life as a human. So why wouldn't we forget something like that?
And also, I feel like not everyone forgets all of that stuff.
That's what I said. Some people actually remember this shit.
Yeah.
According to what they tell me.
Sure. I mean, I think this kind of brings up how am I trying to say this? I roll this around in my brain a lot because I have some people in my world that I'm not close to anymore because they're very rigid on things. For them, their safety is around none of it being potentially more expansive than what you see right here, right now. The very material, this is it. This is all this is.
Boxed in.
Were you telling me to push my mic in just then? Or were you just
Did I tell you something?
You just motioned.
Would I motion?
I was reading into it.
You're wrong.
Well, can't always be right. So that's their version of safety is this is all of this is. I'm going to grip to it really tightly. And I think what a lazy way to have to, why can't all and nothing potentially be true? Why is it so hard to explore that there might be more than the first breath out your mom's womb?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, there's just different perspectives. Some people are open, like us. I think we're open-minded. You have different abilities and way different experiences. I don't have that at the moment. And I just don't
still argue that, but okay.
Which part of that? Me?
You're very sensitive.
Oh, yeah. Sideshow. I'm gonna change the subject. So did you see my story I posted about losing my wallet?
No, I just saw it. I just saw the thing that said I lost my wallet. That's it.
Well, whatever. Thanks for not paying attention to me.
I pay a lot of attention to you.
I'm just kidding. We'll get into that later. So I had this story time, people. Also, by the way, this podcast was decided yesterday, so we're just flowing. We're riffing right now. Anyway, I had this experience recently where I couldn't find my wallet. And this has happened before, but I knew physically there were trails. It was in my place. It was at my place. Because my license was on the counter. I took out my license, so I was I wouldn't have taken out my license out from my wallet outside already being there. So I was it's at my place. I know it's here, but I checked everywhere. I looked in the fridge. I looked in the toilet, around the toilet bowl. I took apart my couch like it was actually furniture. I was looking everywhere. I went to my car, my truck multiple times. It's a 2 to 3 day thing. And the night before, a spoiler alert, found it. I was no, I know it's here. I was starting to use the power of, I'm going to tap into this shit. I know it's in there. I know it's in my brain. I know my brain in there somewhere is telling, it knows where it is. I just can't pull it. I know where it is. I'm going to find it. I kept telling myself. Then the next day goes by. I was still constantly thinking I'm going to figure this out. And then all of a sudden I just had a hunch and I followed the hunch. It took me right to the garbage can. I walked to the garbage can. I looked at it. I was shit. But something told me, I was just look in there. So I opened it up. I looked at the top. I'm fuck. So I just sent it. Started digging in there like a homeless man on Sunset Boulevard and just went to the bottom of it, started getting nasty and moist, full send. I reached down there and I found my wallet at the bottom of my trash can. And the point of the story was, I feel like I tapped into something as simple as the wallet trick was and the whole purpose of the story was. I trusted my intuition that led me there. When I looked literally everywhere, I would have never thought the wallet would have been in the garbage.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it totally does.
Is this on tune to what we were talking about?
Yeah, I'm just sitting here, I'm you're not even one of my intuition clients. And I'm bravo.
But that's why it was so brilliant. It felt so brilliant to me.
Yeah, no, that's good. You would actually probably really enjoy the Jose Silva, the Silva method or whatever.
I have that book.
Okay, so you already know. Yeah.
I haven't read it though.
Parts of part of what I've studied was using some of his stuff. And, I've acquired my own set of tools. But you said you did not read it yet.
Mm-hmm.
I think you would like it because like he works really a lot with that was a good sentence, recall.
Yes.
And like using the brain for that kind of thing and your intuitive hits.
Yeah, and I felt it. I literally felt it because I was so committed to. But I realized I pull these lessons because it's I feel like I can extrapolate that into so many things of life because it took a full commitment. It took the decision that I knew. It was a psychosomatic response of the intention, the thought going out, and then pulling it back in with my heart and feeling an emotion towards it.
So what did it feel like when you got the hit or the hunch? This is what I have my clients explore. When you got that one that led you to the trash can, what did that one feel like?
Homeless. But besides that, I still went through it.
No, I meant like when the information came into your mind or into your awareness. You're like, this is my hunch. What did your hunch feel like? I want to know what that felt like in your body or in your mind.
It was just like a fuzzy little, like inside my belly, maybe just like a little poking kind of like there's something in there, but it was more like a gravitational pull that pulled me there without even thinking about it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it was just trusting it.
Cool.
So I have my wallet.
I love that you found your wallet.
I had to use my old wallet because that first wallet was moist and disgusting.
Mm. Mm.
What were we talking about before this?
I don't know. The people, they're going to be like, you guys.
Well, okay. So I do want to get back to the idea of how do you think, in your opinion, what is the workability? First, it comes to the decision to believe that it just can get better. I think that's something that you got to figure out. You being the general you, if you decide you want to even get better, whatever that means to you, it could be incremental better. It doesn't mean you have to be fully healed, just like a little better. I think that's a step in the right direction. But what do you think the actual practice is of someone that may want to believe it can get better but doesn't?
Okay, so I think an important thing here to do to like make this a little more approachable is let's zoom out away from the pain point being grief. I think if we're super needle point focused on grief, it's a little hard and a little too activating to like consider approaches or to be open to an approach if you're someone who's wanting to do this. So
maybe too soon. Right? Like there's like a time and a place for this at the same time, right? Like it's not like someone died and I would never say that to someone who is in the middle of it.
Yeah, no, this is something I would put as a blanket thing to approach. If you're somebody who is, this would apply to someone who, if grief has overtaken your life and you cannot live with it being so heavy all the time for you anymore, and it's like been prolonged, grief is going to hurt. All this stuff is going to hurt. So you don't need to rush through anything. This is for someone that's like, I need to make the choice for myself so I have a little bit more control over what I'm experiencing in this life. So if you're someone that is choosing to shift how you're experiencing your reality, this can apply to you. If you're someone that does not want to do that right now or it feels like that's not on the cards, then this isn't for you and that's okay. But when it is time, you could try it. So basically, I would say you zoom out from grief being the main thing we're focusing on, because the pain attached to grief can be a little too activating for someone to want to begin to look at. When I'm going to say that it is choice when you start to look at the things and be like, what are and this is where it gets tricky, the benefits / blessings and lessons from what has happened. And so an easier way to start doing this is I would say if someone's going through a really bad breakup, and like, it was a waste of a thing. Like, why'd I go through that thing? My heart's broken, blah, blah, blah. I'm in the pits of despair. And I'm like, it's actually not a waste. Why don't you make a list of the benefits of what's happening right now? The ending of the relationship. What did you learn? What is the good thing? Take that and then have you heard of like glimmers versus triggers? So a glimmer, it's just like escaping me right now, but the person who like coined the term, a glimmer would be the opposite of a trigger. So you're going to start to rewire your brain to notice the things that are like positive. So like complex grief and the grief that is incredibly painful for a long period of time, it's kind of debilitating. You want to like rewire the brain to start to notice things that are even mildly positive. So just the little things. Instead of, every day being full of dog shit, emotionally.
It's so visceral.
I wanted you guys to feel it. When you have a meal that tastes good, just be like, oh, that's a moment I'm having a glimmer. I'm having that experience in my body where for just like a mild moment, it feels a little bit better. And then those are going to build up. And then eventually you're going to see that like, oh, I'm actually safe in my body when I feel a little bit better. It's actually okay to feel a little bit better in my body, to have these small moments that feel okay. I do still miss this person. That still exists. And you start to kind of see that like, if you're not wallowing in your own like brain spiral of pain, that it's still safe to feel things that are not just pain and the other thing still exists. Does this making sense?
Makes perfect sense. It's a balancing act. It's kind of living and grieving, and that joy and pain they can dance with each other.
They can dance with each other. That's what it is. It's not about saying that like grief getting better means that you don't have it. It's just that you're cueing to your nervous system, your mind, and all the functioning parts that like it all can coexist. And that spaciousness is where the better quotes lives.
But I think that's a very good initiation to it, because it's almost like baby steps in a way, and it's focusing on the very small things that you wouldn't even normally maybe intellectualize as part of the experience. Whether it's just a good meal, whether it's a minor laugh.
You see a puppy that you like, you're like, that's a little moment.
Harp on that and just realize that and sit there just for a second. You can go back to your pain and crying right after that if you want, but it's that momentary little glimmer that can be so profound to start. It's like little breadcrumbs. It's like one little
You're
breadcrumb
breadcrumbing your brain into realizing that like it's actually not all is lost, and like not everything is gone. And the important thing for me, and I know not everyone feels this, but like when someone dies, the two like major experiences I have around loss, like the big heartbreaks, those initiated more life living for me. Like I wanted to expand after the initial like feeling that I was also going to die, of course. But that I made me want to like be more expansive in honor of the passing.
Yes.
That's how I wanted, but that's what felt empowering to me. It's not for everybody. That's okay. But the little glimmers can help just like bring you back to even like a base level where you're not drowning. And it's a starting point.
Yeah, it's a starting point. But I think that breadcrumb snowballs. If you do it with intention, you do it with the idea that you want to, even because like you're in such a depth of pain at certain moments of life, that, I mean, even though the dangerous part is we can get very comfortable there, which keeps us there because that sadness is physiologically addictive, whether we realize it or not, because it's kind of oddly safe, even though we feel like miserable. But the idea that if we could feel this one side of emotions which isn't so good, we should be trying to like, let's just latch on to anything good that we can and take that one breadcrumb with the belief that there might be another Skittle.
And even just, I like to offer to people, for 21 days, just commit to yourself that you'll just take notice of these glimmers. I'm not even asking anyone to hold on to it and like grip to it. You don't need to grip to the cute puppy dog all day long to carry you through. Just take a moment of presence, maybe take a breath in and be like, oh, that felt nice, noting it. And actually like literally write it down. I want people to have like a log so you can't trick yourself into saying that stuff doesn't exist. And then when the next one happens, write it down. And so you might think later at the end of the day, like, oh, it was a shit day, nothing good happened. But you'll look back and there's gonna be like 5, 7, 2, I don't know, little moments, but you don't need to hold on to them, because the idea is that you're creating the flow again. It's feedback in and out, you're just whatever. You don't have to hold on to any of the experiences is kind of the place I try to get people to.
Yeah, I think it could be a forceful exercise in the best way, but I mean, like if some people are really latched onto the things that's terrible, this, that, and the other, and they, for whatever reason, are programmed to not want to even consider anything, I would just ask that you just try it as an exercise and for sport and force the positive, even if you're literally writing it down like this is bullshit, but just force the idea.
Be mad about it, whatever.
Yeah, whatever it is, at least I think that's a first step to at least breaking through and just seeing that side of reality that hasn't gone anywhere. Like I heard this story from a dear friend's father of mine. He explained it as marbles. He tells this story, which is great. He was like, when I was a kid, like I used to love coming home from school, me and my friends, grade school, we used to play marbles. This is decades ago. We used to go home, play marbles. We were playing a game one day and we were playing on the grass and then it was getting dark. So we were like, we should probably go home. Let's leave the marbles here for tomorrow. We'll finish the game. There was a massive storm that night that when they got back there, they muddied up the marbles and everything was just like a muck and a mess and it was ruined the game. But then as he looked at the marbles, he knew the marbles were still there. It was just mud and muck on them right now. But all he had to do was pick up the marbles and wipe them off the grass and wipe them off. And little by little, they kept seeing the shimmer of these like beautiful, amazing marbles that were always there, haven't gone anywhere, just temporarily covered in muck. And it was just that acknowledgement of realizing that the glimmer, the gold is still there.
Find your marbles.
Clean off your marbles sometimes.
Ooh, but you know what? I'm going to make I've got a couple people that I'm working with right now. And if you guys are listening to this, you guys have to get a jar and some marbles. And if you're listening to this and you're not working with me, get a jar and some marbles. Because I because I got to tell you, the word glimmer kind of like rubs me the wrong way. I don't know why. I'm kind of like.
It's like the word moist. I don't like that word.
I appreciate the concept. I don't really like the word glimmer. But you're going to go find your marbles. So this can be applied to grief from loss, your breakup. This can be if you're dealing with like deep depression cycles in your mind and having a hard time kind of rewiring. Grab your jar of marbles. Yep, we're going back to grade school, and you're going to put your marbles in every time you have a little happy moment.
Yeah, and that's actually a sneak peek to part of what I've wrote in my books. Also, like, don't put that in your book. That's kind of my book.
Don't use the marbles.
I'm just kidding. That's why I said it out loud. It's but I thought that was a beautiful analogy. It just made so much sense that it's still there. It's just sometimes it's just covered in muck, and we gotta put in the work to clean it off, and also believe that it's still there. Because if you don't believe it's still there, then you're just gonna keep those dirty marbles in your pocket. And you're not even gonna try to clean it off because like, what's the point? Mm-hmm. But you gotta realize there is a point, and it's still there, and it might not shine as much as it was in the past, but it could. It could. Sometimes, in my opinion, it can shine even more because this experience, to me personally, has made me want to. Besides honor my father, because I know I was blessed to have that loving relationship. Sometimes it's harder with complicated grief and complicated relationships, it's much harder than my situation to be like, oh, that person wanted me to live a better life because maybe your relationship was not as great. But in my case, I know my dad wouldn't want me to be wallowing and throwing my life away. So that's part of it. But I also understood it made me realize that to go to the rock bottom of feelings, that it made me focus on the other side so much more because it made me more aware of it.
I think you touched on something a few sentences ago that I think also both can like inhibit or trigger people into not wanting to do this stuff, is that you have the choice to polish said marbles.
The choice puts the onus on you.
And choice can be either empowering to somebody or it can really make them feel frozen and it can feel upsetting. Like if I have the choice, then this means that like I have to do it. And people can mistake that for saying that like that's putting blame on them. And that's not what that is. It's not, you're dealt what you're dealt. So you guys know this whole thing. It's like you can't choose what happens to you, but you can choose how you respond. Right. So you have the choice of saying, okay, this is my pain. This is what this feels like. I'm either going to sign off and say that, like, I'm cool with this. This is a life I want to live. I want to feel this pain. I want to stay in it. And this is what I like. Great. Sign off on that. And then stop blabbering about why you're so mad that you're in pain. Or make the choice to begin to make the shift. And then that's putting the agency back on you. But it's empowering. When you get to make the choice, it's better for you. Like, having the agency is better if it's in your hands than it is throwing it out to the ether. But
I couldn't agree more. And I wonder how subconscious that is that we can take that victim mentality because then it's not our responsibility. This happened to me, therefore, because yes, things have happened, but I'm not a big believer in saying, oh, this happened to me. This is just a happening that sucks, but it's a happening that, again, I can't control that. That's the is what it is aspect of it in many ways, but the is what it isn't is my response, like you said.
Yeah. Well, there's stuff that like I probably can't talk about in detail on this podcast because I'm just still trying to figure out like the legality part of my history and my stories.
Sick.
Yeah. I don't know. Lived a life, but
teaser. Okay, go on.
I know. I'm trying to like. This is not really about death, but this is about choice and like what we bring into our own sphere of experience. So, as a child, choice is removed because things happen to you. Like there's a whole pathway of things that have occurred in my childhood that would shape me to be the person that I would be. When I was 18, I was incredibly angry. I was full of just like, I don't know, just not good energy, and I hated men. I don't feel that way towards them at all anymore. But that hate that I had in me towards men ended up putting me in a position where I was dating a man who like sent back that same kind of like frequency with me. And he was incredibly, horrifically abusive. And when I look at that, no, is it my fault that I was in an abusive relationship and I was getting my ass beat and all this stuff? No, he's still doing something bad. But I can say that like it was my behavior and my own kind of energy around something that I was carrying, unaware of. I was unconscious of it, that put me in that position because I wasn't sitting in that kind of behavior that I was portraying. I would not attract somebody like that. So it empowers me to then like make steps in a different direction to attract different things. Now this is different because it's not death, but it does. Did I change parts of my life by putting the choice in my behavior and not just being like, I was a victim to some dude who wanted to like do some crazy stuff to me.
Right. Even separate of deserving this or that, or it's right, or obviously clearly it's not right, but it's completely separate of that. It's the idea that this energy was attracted based on your personal state.
Yeah. Because I was like sitting in a place where like, because I was in pain, for me, my pain turned into anger. Like
pain that was there way before he showed up.
Yeah. It's not even about that pain. Wasn't even about him. That was probably more to do with my dad and my dad's dad and some weird stuff that happened with all that stuff. But not my dad, his dad, no one's dad. Yeah, I mean, I know that was like a kind of a tangent because we're talking about death versus choice, but I think what's important, the overall thing that I'm trying to like bring in here is that we actually have a lot more choice around our experience than we think we do.
I totally agree. And my whole exploitation is why not just try? I'm just saying, like, try it. Just see what is
science experiment.
What's
going to
happen? What's going to happen? If it doesn't believe it, I'm not believing that you're going to be back where you just were. Okay. Well, then if for whatever reason nothing feels like it's working, or maybe you're not even, maybe just the fact of trying something different is a massive step for you. Just the fact that wherever you're at, if you come to a point, whenever that timing is, whatever is right for you, comes to a point where like, oh, I feel like something needs to give right now. If you're at that point, then wherever that may mean, then try it. Just try it. That's all. It's like, what's the worst? What happens? Is it going to get worse?
It's one of the biggest things I could say. I think if we want to like loop this back around to death, one of the reasons, there's many reasons that my dad killed himself, but part of it was that he felt very stuck. He was stuck in his own version of like feeling without choice of his life. And one of the biggest things I would say to clients when they're like, I can't get things to feel different. I can't. And I'm just like, literally go learn something new. Don't care what it is. Go take a class in something, go whatever, just learn something new because that also signals to your brain that you are capable of creating new neural pathways that you can you can change things. You just go try something new. You don't have to be good at it, whatever. Just try. It's all very simple things. And I think that's also another reason why people go, poo-poo to it all because it sounds very easy.
It's much easier.
It's actually a lot easier.
So much easier.
The hardest part is doing it. Just doing the things. And if my dad would have tried to learn a few different things, if he had like implemented like some of this stuff, who knows what a different outcome. But I think that the way that his demise came, I do think it would have been a different situation.
But I mean, it's a very good point of just trying different things, because if you're stuck in the same thoughts, same beliefs, then you're going to feel the same things and you're going to believe the same things.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're staying in the same patterns, the only thing that's going to shake that up is to try new things and shift your perspective in the meantime.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess sometimes I think that relieves some of the pressure is just try it and see what happens. But do it. Yeah, there has to be an aspect of you, I think, that does it with an open mind, because I also believe like if someone goes into a place, tries something different, but has already made up their mind that nothing's going to happen, then it's still the same belief. Yeah. So it's like a perfect blend of, you can try new things, but if you stick to the same beliefs, then it might not work. There's some experience that may happen that might just completely shift you and then it will change.
Try to be mildly open.
Mildly. Even that's the difference.
Affirmations I have people work with is just be like, I'm open to the potential that this could be okay. Just try there. You don't need to like be like, I am lovable and magnificent and beautiful and perfect. Like, it's fine. We don't need to do that. I know for me, if I'm not feeling the vibes, affirmations like that for my brain are not going to cut it. But like, I'm open to the possibility that we're going to have a good conversation today and then to see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't even know what the hell we were going to talk about. It's like, let's just see what happens. And wherever it goes, and it's going to be great. And then
someone's going to be mad. Someone's going to find it useful. Someone's going to say it's a waste of time.
I mean, like my mom taught me after watching the original Pinocchio as a kid, there's a great scene with Jiminy the Cricket. He's laughing at a scene that's happening below. And then all of a sudden, as he's laughing, he sees like a statue next to him with a really mean face. And he gets scared after he's laughing. Mm-hmm. And he just looks at the camera pretty much and just goes, well, you can't please everybody. And it's like, you can't please everybody, but you can please yourself. Relax, bud. Okay. Should we switch topics now? Or should we talk about something personal?
Sorry.
But it's a real thing. You can't. I think that's the aspect of you can't please everybody. And when I also dissect that into, you can't always control the external events, but it goes back to what we already said. But we can control our inners, mm-hmm. but also by controlling our inners, we do affect the external. But I think the external we affect is more like our future external. And it's sometimes the past too, because once you start changing your inners, then all of a sudden the past starts to change, mm-hmm. and the future starts to change. And then so you are kind of manipulating time when you do make these changes, because you redefine what happens.
We didn't even smoke weed. Well, I didn't.
I didn't either. That's the thing. Whenever I make these posts and say edibles, like, it's like I say these things when I'm not. It's just amplified when I get a little fucked up.
This is regular Thursday.
Is it Thursday? Yeah, I just had a podcast before this. We went pretty heavy, and it was 10 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, oh, this checks out. This is my life now.
We've gone pretty light both times that we've been on here.
Light?
Yeah.
What, like substances?
No, as far as like the content of what we're talking about.
As opposed to,
I think it's interesting because like on my personal like page and stuff, I'll be like, yeah, my dad shot himself in the head and this is what it looks like. And I was getting sued for $20 million because my dad had a lawsuit against blah, 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 blah. And on here, we're just like, guys, just like sort out your feelings.
guys, just chill.
It's fine.
Like, clearly we have it together, so just listen to us because we know everything.
I don't know anything.
That. It's just like, again, all these conversations, I hope people understand by now, it's not a formula or a delivery of this is what you should do. It's just
potential.
Just potential. Maybe like it takes all of what we're saying, try it, take some of it, don't take any. That's your choice. This just resonates with you and me. Mm-hmm. And we just happen to be recording this and now you're listening. So again, it's just maybe open your mind because it's such a weird, absurd, wild ass world that is full of magic. So why put ourselves in a box thinking that some things are possible and some things are not? It's a much more fun world for me to think that anything is possible.
Yeah, I mean, as much junk and bullshit and pain as there's the same amount of the opposite. So like, why not try to engage with the opposite, the positive, the interesting, the mystery, the whimsical, whatever you want? Because we're little secret, we are all going to die.
Oh,
we're going to die.
It took me 210 episodes to realize that one.
We are going to die. So with that,
so why not?
Why not?
So I'm going to say it very, very straightly. It will get better. I'm getting rid of the can. I'm putting in the will for y'all because it will get better. And
should you choose?
Should you choose? That's okay. So there's threefold. It won't get better if that's what you believe. It can get better if that's what you believe. It will get better if that's what you believe.
Maybe right now it just is better.
It is better right now.
You can say right now, it is. There's an isness. Isness is present.
Yeah, you got some isness going on in your life. So do I, that you kind of tapped into prior, good and bad. And now we're in this room and I kind of forgot all that stuff was going on for a little bit. And that was the glimmer of today.
I agree with that. There's like moments of presence. Is that what it comes down to? Just being present?
The now is the only unpredictable.
Is it the thing that everyone's been saying forever, all the time, always? Is all the gurus, all the people, all the spiritual speakers, is it just is the now?
Yes, it literally is the now.
Crazy.
I feel like life is so much better like that. It is so much better when we just stay in the now because at least for now, everything's chill. And when it's not chill, you deal with it then. Like Bill Burr always says, like, yeah, things are going to be fine. And if they're not, you deal with it then. Like, figure it out.
That's what I've always thought too, because all the like really like shit hit the fan moments in my life. So when I got the phone call about my dad dying, when I got hit by the car, all of those moments, I'm not in the moment thinking like, I'm so scared of how bad this is going to be. I'm going, this is really bad right now. And you're just feeling it right now. You're in it right then. And then it evolves. It's the anxiety around it that makes it worse before projecting it onto it that makes it worse.
Well, yeah. I mean, most of the time we're living in the past or the future. Mm-hmm. And when we're now, it's like, oh, the past is done. I'm right here. And then the future hasn't even happened yet. So we're worrying about things that haven't even happened. So if we have the ability to worry about things that have happened and might happen, can't we just flip that and instead of the worry about what might happen, think about what might happen in the positive way? Mm-hmm. Like I said, this might happen. It's never terrible, burning, hell, fuck. And then it's like, wait, no, what about great? Like, what if the future is great? And then you start feeling that emotion. Mm-hmm. So you're living in a positive future that's going to curate that future if you stay there.
Yeah. And no matter what, at the end of it all, we're all going to die.
Yeah, smoke a blunt, drink a fifth, whatever you got to do. Eat a kind bar.
Or like drink some juice, like green juice. You don't have,
Not matcha. I can't stand matcha.
Have some filtered water, I guess, if you can.
Well, what else we got? Anything else you want to drop on them? Is there any weird mystical shit that you want to say before we get out of here?
Any weird mystical shit? I feel like on my in my personal world, so I've got I met some like really cool people actually through our first episode together. Dope. Which has been really great to connect with. Hi, Allison.
Hey, Allison.
Hi, Allison. But we like basically, what am I trying to say right now?
No idea.
Me either. I'm trying to say that there is a part of my world which I don't know how to express outwardly to like the general population where like I feel like we've been calling it like the mechanics shop. So it's like mechanics talking with mechanics. And it's been very fun with other like psychics and mediums to like kind of get into stuff and be talking about anything I have to say right now is actually not going to work without it being a really long episode. Anyways, that's all. That's other psychics and mediums, holler at me. We can talk about it.
Well, I mean, unless there's anything else you want to get off your chest in regards to anything we did or didn't cover.
I'm not going to say it on this episode.
Say what? What? Okay, we'll save it for later, I guess. Okay, fair. We'll do a separate video for the heck. We'll stop. God, I'm confusing everyone on this listening right now. But if anyone that hasn't listened to the first episode that me and Alyssa did, go check it out. I don't remember the number, but I'm sure you can find her. I'll plug it in this episode. Alyssa, thanks for taking another trek here. I don't know how long that was, or I think that was good though.
That's pretty good. It was always good talking to you. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, of course. That was fun. And until next time, y'all, thank you for tuning in. Bye. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Dead Talks. Please do not forget to hit the subscribe button and also the notification bell. That'll give you updates as to when we post a new video, more episodes, and more content in general. We are streaming on all the major podcast platforms, including Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, and all that. And also find us on Instagram at Dead Talks Podcast or www.deadtalks.net. Thank you so much.